Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. I'm a MD physician. I'm not an endocrinologist, but still I'll try to make this topic as simple as possible. Today we'll be talking on thyroid goiter, thyroiditis, and how you approach to a person who has got thyroid nodule. So we'll be talking on thyroiditis, thyroid goiters, and nodule. Basically, thyroiditis means inflammation of thyroid gland, which may be acute, subacute, chronic. Acute are by and large painful. Subacute are also painful, but some subacute are painless. But chronic are usually painless. Euthyroid and this thyroiditis can be euthyroid, hypothyroid, or hyperthyroid. Thyroiditis can be painful, can be painless. Painful can be infectious. In infectious, post-viral, and among infectious, it can be acute and chronic. Post-viral, some of the post-viral are mainly subacute granulomatous, and that is called Dequarian thyroiditis. Acute are usually pyogenic, or we call bacterial, in which Staphylococcus, Streptococcus and Pneumococcus are the most common. And among the chronic infectious variety, it is very common in an immunocompromised host, where the most common organism is Mycobacterium, Pneumocystis carni, and fungal infections. Among the painless group, Hashimoto's, riddles, postpartum thyroiditis, drug-induced, particularly in drug-induced amiodarone, lithium, interferons, radiation variety. All these are the different varieties of thyroiditis. Basically, in all this group, there is some inflammation of thyroid gland tissue. Acute are rare, but due to suppurative infection of a thyroid gland. Subacute is also called Dequarian thyroiditis or called granulomatous thyroiditis, and it is mostly viral in origin. While chronic is mostly autoimmune, and one of the most common classical variety which you see in your everyday practice, and the most common thyroiditis what you see is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So among autoimmune thyroiditis, you come across what we call as a chronic autoimmune thyroiditis, and in that the most common which we see is the Hashimoto's. Second common we see is silent thyroiditis, postpartum thyroiditis, and there are some other variety we call atrophic thyroiditis, focal thyroiditis, juvenile thyroiditis. And one another variety where you ends with lot of fibrosis and thyroid gland becomes thickened and hard, we call Riddle's thyroiditis. So these are the different types of what we put them into one group. We call it autoimmune, and this is Riddle's. So we come across these two groups more common. And then comes subacute thyroiditis, and rare we call suppurative variety. So among painful, most common acute, which can be bacterial or viral. Most common among that is bacterial. Usually viral becomes subacute, and that we call as chronic granulomatous. Post-viral we call Dequarian variety. And among the chronic, it is very common in a immunocompromised host, and commonest organism is Mycobacterium. Second common is Pneumocystis carni, and then comes fungal infections. So subacute granulomatous variety is also called Dequarian variety, or we call it a post-viral variety. So most common post-viral is Dequarian, or we call subacute granulomatous variety. Among painless group, chronic, and in that Hashimoto's, riddles, chronic non-specific thyroiditis, and postpartum thyroiditis. Even they put radiation also. By and large, it is painless. Subacute variety, sometimes it can be painless, it can be painful. And when it is painful, usually we put them into a subacute Dequarian variety. So these are some of the terms which are very commonly being utilized. Hashimoto's is also called chronic lymphocytic thyroiditis, chronic autoimmune thyroiditis, or lymphoadenoid goiter. Painless postpartum thyroiditis is also called as a postpartum thyroiditis. Short form it is called PPT. Subacute lymphocytic thyroiditis. There is another variety called painless sporadic thyroiditis, which we call as a silent sporadic thyroiditis. It is also called subacute lymphocytic thyroiditis. These three are painless, but painful variety once in a while you come across is painful subacute thyroiditis, which is also called subacute Dequarian, giant cell, subacute granulomatous, or pseudogranulomatous. These are all the synonymous terms which are being utilized for painful subacute thyroiditis. The most common word utilized is Dequarian thyroiditis. Always painful suppurative thyroiditis, which is infectious, acute suppurative, pyogenic, bacterial, etc. These are all the words which are being utilized. There is another variety we call as a drug-induced thyroiditis, which is usually painless. And the most common drugs are amiodarone, lithium, interferon, alpha, interleukin 2, etc. These are usually painless, and we call them as a drug-induced thyroiditis. And Riddle's thyroiditis is fibrous. There is an extensive fibrosis, and it results into a very hard, non-tender thyroid gland enlargement. So the most common variety is Hashimoto's. Second common is subacute, that is Dequarian variety. Very rare is acute infectious thyroiditis. Drug-induced are also quite common, and radiation thyroiditis. Most common is Hashimoto's, and second common is Dequarian variety, subacute variety. So etiology wise, we can put them into infectious variety, which can be bacterial, viral, tubercular, fungal. Bacterial is acute. Post-viral is usually subacute. We call post-viral, that is Dequarian variety, or also called as a postpartum thyroiditis. While tuberculous and fungal are usually chronic, and they are usually in an immunocompromised host. The third group we call as autoimmune, that is Hashimoto's, postpartum thyroiditis, etc. belongs to that autoimmune group of varieties. Riddle is ideally, there is no exact etiology, but it is not autoimmune, it is because of the extensive fibrosis. Some says that it is post due to a disorder which can end up with an extensive fibrosis. While drug-induced is amiodarone, lithium, and interferon. Another group is radiation, and sometimes still you cannot make out, we call them as an idiopathic variety. You can divide them into acute, subacute, and chronic. We have already given that before. Painless or painless. Acute we have already mentioned. Inacute, bacterial, fungal, radiation, amiodarone, that is drug induced, are usually acute. Sometimes amiodarone can be chronic also. Usually acute are painful. You will have a ESR elevated. C-reactive protein will be also elevated. Thyroid function test may be normal or may be abnormal. Once there is a destruction of the thyroid gland, thyroid function will become hypothyroid. In a subacute variety, also it is called as granulomatous variety or Dequarian variety. Subacute thyroiditis can be of three different groups. One we call as a Dequarian variety. Another is called lymphocytic thyroiditis, also known as a subacute painless thyroiditis. And third variety we call in that subacute variety is postpartum thyroiditis, subacute postpartum thyroiditis. It is by and large post-viral. So subacute is post-viral. Painless thyroiditis can be subacute lymphocytic, or we also call as silent. because there is no symptoms. So silent thyroiditis. It is probably a variety of autoimmune variant of Hashimoto's, and by and large it is painless. Postpartum thyroiditis is again a variant of autoimmune only. It can be painful, it can be painless. By and large, it is painless. So, in a painless variety, you come across silent thyroiditis, postpartum thyroiditis, and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. These are all autoimmune, variant of autoimmune. Drug induced can be amiodarone, lithium, interleukin, as well as what we call as interferons. Radiation is usually after a post-radioactive iodine treatment. Among pathophysiology, you know very well, it can be infectious, it can be post-viral or autoimmune. Inflammation will lead to necrosis followed by fibrosis. Initially, it is euthyroid. Because of little inflammation, you can have a little increase in secretion. Person can have a little increased production of a thyroid hormone, we call as a hyperthyroid stage. And when it is secondary due to Hashimoto's, it is also called a Hashimoto toxicosis. And later on, as the necrosis sets in, the production of T3, T4 goes down, person becomes hypothyroid. And it may be the end results of either infectious variety, post-viral variety, or an autoimmune variety. Among clinical features, one of the most common presentation is, as far as onset is concerned, acute, subacute, or chronic. The goiter can be painful or painless. And clinical features wise, initially almost majority of all are euthyroid. No clinical symptoms and signs of thyroid function disorders, but they will have definitely goiter, which can be painful or painless. Chronic are usually painless. Subacute is usually painful, acute is usually painful. As inflammation sets in or autoimmune process starts, you can have increased production producing hyperthyroidism features. May be symptomatic, may be asymptomatic. And later on, once the destruction sets in, the person will have a decreased production, and then he will go into a stage of hypothyroidism, and then he will have all clinical symptom signs classical of hypothyroidism. We call it as a myxedema. And one of the most common cause of myxedema, apart from iodine deficiency, is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So symptoms are painful thyroid gland enlargement. In an acute variety, you might have a fever, weakness, lassitude, etc. In subacute, some are painless, and in chronic, usually they are painless enlargement of thyroid gland. By and large, they end up with hypothyroidism because they resolve by destruction, so they will end up with hypothyroidism. If acutes are treated, person may have a full recovery, complete recovery. So by and large, acute thyroiditis, if they are treated early by antibiotics and drainage, etc., you can have a full recovery, complete recovery. So some are painful, some are painless enlargement of thyroid gland. So you can put them into together, asymptomatic by and large initially. Later on, they can be painful or painless enlargement of the thyroid gland, so goiter can be there. Function wise, it can be normal. In bacterial infection, fever is a common symptom, and along with fever, you can have lot of other symptoms like weakness, fatigue, headache, body ache, etc. And subacute and chronic variety are usually of febrile. As far as clinical stage is concerned, it can be euthyroid, hyperthyroid, or hypothyroid. Any one of these. The end result is usually hypothyroid. So this will be hypothyroid symptoms. This will be some of the hyperthyroid symptoms which we have already discussed in previous lectures. When you go through the differential diagnosis of different variety, that is Hashimoto's, postpartum, sporadic variety, painful subacute variety, particularly we call Dequarian variety, subpurative thyroiditis, which is always painful, and redux thyroiditis. If you look at the age, Hashimoto's is very common between 30 to 50 years. This is painless. Postpartum is usually after delivery, while sporadic variety between 30 to 40. Subacute Dequarian is between 20 to 60. Subpurative can be in children and between 20 to 40 years of age, and riddles is again between 30 to 60 years of age. Female are always more common than male. Painless also, female are more common than male. Subacute is also more common in female as compared to male. But subpurative variety, both can be equal. While in a riddles, again, female are more prone as compared to male. In Hashimoto's postpartum sporadic variety, usually it is autoimmune, and these are two called as a variant of autoimmune. While subpurative is because of bacterial, riddles exact etiology is not known, but it is seen very commonly with sclerosing variety, where you got lot of fibrosis. And subacute variety is usually what we call is a post-viral. Post-viral. We are not going into pathological detail. In all this variety, there is a lymphocytic infiltration. While in case of a subpurative variety, abscess formation, in a riddles, dense fibrosis. While here in a what we call is a Dequarian variety, usually it is giant cells will granuloma formation. Thyroid function wise, Hashimoto's will always end up with hypothyroidism. Sometimes you can get little thyrotoxicosis sign. In a postpartum, initially thyrotoxicosis followed by hypothyroidism. In sporadic variety also toxicosis followed by hypothyroidism. In painful variety also thyrotoxicosis followed by hypothyroidism. But usually in a riddles, euthyroid. In a subpurative variety also euthyroid. But if there is an extensive destruction, person can become hypothyroid. Secondary after extensive destruction if not treated properly. TPO antibody will be strongly positive in Hashimoto's. Again in PP postpartum also it will be strongly positive. In sporadic variety also it is strongly positive because all these three varieties are autoimmune. In Dequarian variety, by and large negative. By and large negative. In subpurative also negative. In riddles also may be present. May be present. That's the reason why it was told that initially it is autoimmune. But exact etiology is not known. ESR will be normal in this three variety we call autoimmune variety, but it will be high in case of a subpurative variety and also in case of a post-viral, that is Dequarian variety. Radioactive iodine uptake will depend upon initial stage, may be little elevated, then later on normal, and you can have a low uptake. Postpartum is usually less than 5%. Sporadic variety is also less than 5%. Subacute variety is also less than 5%. In a subpurative variety, maybe little low or maybe normal. While in riddles, it is low. Sometime it may be normal. All these are the some minor difference here and there. You should remember what we call as a etiology wise and thyroid function wise and TPO. So TPO antibody becomes very useful for the test. It will be strongly positive in Hashimoto's, postpartum and sporadic variety, while it is usually negative in case of riddles and in case of subpurative variety. It may be borderline positive or low titer in case of a Dequarian variety. That becomes very useful. So try to go through that. This is also a minor difference between what we call as a Dequarian variety, Hashimoto's and riddles. So we are not going to detail, we have already mentioned before. So you can go through your at leisure time. Very common in Dequarian variety. This is the way it approaches. This is what we call as a serum thyroxine level. You will have initial stage little elevation of T34, so we call toxicosis, followed by euthyroid stage, and then person becomes hypothyroid. And once a person recovers completely, he will become normal. Again euthyroid. So this will be there. Iodine uptake wise also there will be little decrease iodine uptake during thyrotoxic stage, euthyroid stage, and during hypothyroid stage. And then later on the radioactive iodine uptake will become normal. But while recovering you might have little increase in radioactive iodine uptake. TSH level will go down once the person becomes thyrotoxic. Then TSH level will come back once a person becomes hypothyroid and will become normal once a person completely recovers. So that is the way it goes on in case of a what we call as a subacute thyroiditis. So you come across three phases: hyperthyroid, euthyroid, and then recovery stage. Euthyroid can become hypothyroid, and if there is a destruction, person can become hypothyroid, and that is quite common in case of a Hashimoto's thyroiditis. In a postpartum, you got a two stages: overactive stage and underactive stage. During overactive stage, there is an increased production of a thyroid hormone. Person can have a symptom signs of thyrotoxicosis or maybe asymptomatic. In underactive stage, by and large, it is a hypothyroid stage and may return to normal once a person recovers completely. Very occasionally, person becomes hypothyroid. So during overactive stage, little symptom signs suggestive of a hypothyroidism like anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, weight loss, difficulty in concentration, etc. And in underactive stage, weight gain, fatigue, lack of energy, depression, goiter, all those symptoms and signs, and may remain for 3 to 8 months or even up to a year or so. And then later on, either person recovers completely or may become euthyroid. So you can see that after a long period, person becomes euthyroid. So euthyroid, hyperthyroid stage. So this is called active stage. This is underactive stage, and then person recovers completely. By and large, they recover completely, but very rarely that euthyroid may not come. Person remains as hypothyroid. Very rare, not common. Amiodarone, you got two groups in amiodarone. Amiodarone type 1, amiodarone type 2. Type 1 is usually because of dose-based dose phenomena, where usually person is having underlying multinodular goiter or Graves' disease, which increases because of a dose-based dose phenomena. It is also called as a iodine-induced phenomena. And second variety is because of chemical destruction by thyroiditis, and that is a two varieties. By and large, amiodarone will induce hypothyroidism, which will be iodine induced. You can have 25% of the people subclinical hypothyroidism, and 5% will have overt hypothyroidism. So hypothyroidism is very common in amiodarone. But if a person who is already having a multinodular goiter or a Graves' disease will manifest as increased symptoms and signs in 3 to 5% of the people. This is called type 1 variety. And you can have a destruction of the thyroid gland, which we call as a chemical destructive thyroiditis. And that will end up with what we call as a destruction, and then person will become hypothyroid. So hypothyroidism will be because of two mechanisms. One, because of iodine, which can block the secretions and results into subclinical variety or an overt variety, and type 1 and type 2, which will be by and large hyperthyroidism. In type 1, dose-based dose phenomena, but they will have an underlying multinodular goiter or a Graves' disease. And in this particular variety, destructive thyroiditis finally may end up with hypothyroidism. So type 1 and type 2. Type 2, previously normal, antithyroid antibodies are absent, and person initially will hyperthyroidism due to destructive thyroid follicles in initial stage, and later on person can become hypothyroid. While iodine induced, which is blocking the secretion of, inhibits the T3 T4 conversions, and that will end up with what we call as a hypothyroidism. In thyroiditis group. History, physical examination and thyroid examination becomes very useful. So a painful thyroid, inflamed thyroid, more in favor of acute. Painful thyroid but non-tender, tender thyroid but not a warm thyroid, more in favor of subacute variety. A chronic thyroid is usually painless. Then we go for investigation like T34, TSH and TPO antibody. Person can be detected as euthyroid or hyperthyroid or hypothyroid. TPO antibody we have already shown you will be strongly positive in an autoimmune variety like Hashimoto's postpartum, or we call as a painless subacute thyroiditis or sporadic thyroiditis. CRP, ESR will be elevated in mainly bacterial variety, also may be elevated in a subacute variety. TPO antibody will be usually negative in case of a Riddle's thyroiditis, acute thyroiditis, it will be negative. Radioactive iodine uptake will depend upon the stage. FNAC biopsy will be usually negative. Ultrasound will give you an idea regarding the enlargement and it can differentiate acute from chronic variety. So any person who comes to you with a neck pain, an enlarged thyroid gland, and if there is no neck pain, then look for hyperthyroid symptoms or hypothyroid symptoms. Usually hypothyroid is chronic lymphocytic thyroiditis like we call Dequarian variety. Hyperthyroid can be Graves' disease or subacute lymphocytic variety. While if a person has got a neck pain, very frequently it is what we call as bacterial infections, and if radioactive iodine uptake is markedly decreased, it will be in a subacute granulomatous thyroiditis we call as Dequarian variety. So three phases: initial phase, high T34 level, low TSH level, and radioactive iodine uptake may be less than 5%. In a second stage, person might go into hypothyroid stage we call as a low T34, high TSH and normal radioactive iodine uptake. And in a recovery stage, everything will be normal, T34 will be normal, TSH will be normal, and radioactive iodine uptake will be also normal. And this will be very peculiar in a subacute thyroiditis we call as a Dequarian variety. Usually in a thyroiditis, if a person is having hypothyroid symptoms, hyperthyroid symptoms, beta blocker for symptomatic relief. If TPO inhibitors don't use methimazole, PTU, usually they are contraindicated in absence of overproduction. So if there is an T34 level is markedly elevated, symptomatic, then only use, but do observe for person may become hypothyroid. As the initially there is hyperthyroid, then they go into a normal hypothyroid stage. Steroid very rarely being useful. They are given only if there is a very severe pain, particularly in an autoimmune variety. Usually it is a short course. Steroid is absolutely contraindicated if it is a subpurity variety. Don't use steroid in a subpurity variety. NSAID is commonly used to reduce inflammation and pain. So that will be in a thyroiditis. So there will be three stages. During thyrotoxicosis, by and large, treatment is not given. Even during hypothyroid stage, by and large, the treatment is not given. It is mainly symptomatic. Here, beta blockers. In hypothyroid, you don't have to start levothyroxine as a hormone replacement therapy. For thyroid pain, NSAID. Only in case of an autoimmune variety, you might use steroid. But look for later on person will become hypothyroid because of destruction of the tissue in Hashimoto's variety. Now he will need hormone replacement therapy. So during thyrotoxicosis, beta blocker, hypothyroidism, if it persists, thyroid hormone replacement. For thyroid pain, anti-inflammatory steroid is very rare, and by and large steroid has to be used. It should be used only in case of autoimmune variety. Absolute contraindication if a person has got subpurity variety. In amiodarone induced type 1 variety, particularly because of hyperthyroid function, you can go for methimazole or PTU. Very rarely you require radioactive iodine treatment or you have to go for thyroidectomy. Rare, absolutely rare. In type 2 variety, by and large, you use prednisolone because here it is very beneficial. By giving prednisolone, you prevent destruction of the thyroid gland, and later on, the person may not go into hypothyroid state. And if a person is having a hyperthyroidism symptom signs and by laboratory picture, you can put them on a methimazole and taper the dose as the person starts improving, and even the steroid should be tapered as the person starts improving. In a riddle thyroiditis, usually surgery if required. If there is a pressure symptoms, then only it is being advised. Corticosteroid has usually almost no value. By and large, a person may require a surgery if there is a compressive symptoms on trachea. Complication in a thyroiditis very common because of a pressure effect. It is very common in a case of a what we call as a Riddle's thyroiditis, very rarely in other varieties. Initial stage it is hyperthyroid, more common in an amiodarone induced type 1, type 2 variety. Also in case of Hashimoto's may not require any treatment. They usually end up with hypothyroidism. As a complication in a Hashimoto's, very commonly they end up with hypothyroidism. Rarely in case of a subpurity variety because of an extensive destruction. While in other groups, particularly chronic variety, Dequerin variety, it may end up with a hypothyroidism. So I end this particular portion of hypothyroiditis. Now we'll be going to the second part, what we call as a thyroid goiter or thyroid nodule. So meaning of thyroid goiter is enlargement of thyroid gland, that's all. But when you get a localized enlargement and surrounding tissue is absolutely normal, and if this is more than 1 centimeter, we call that as a nodule. So goiter you can divide into simple goiter, we call it a euthyroid goiter, or toxic goiter, or goiter may be because of change in the thyroid gland tissue, which can be neoplastic. In a neoplastic we call as adenoma and carcinoma, or can be because of secondary metastasis. One more variety of enlargement of a thyroid gland we call goiter is because of inflammation. We have already discussed, we call as a entire thyroiditis group. Function wise, it can be euthyroid, it can be toxic goiter, or it can be non-toxic goiter. Non-toxic goiter we usually call as maybe euthyroid or maybe hypothyroid. It can be single solitary nodule, or it can be multinodular, or it can be a smooth enlargement of the thyroid gland. So goiter is enlargement of the thyroid gland, that's all. It may be non-inflammatory, inflammatory, or can be non-neoplastic. It can be diffuse or we call smooth. It can be multinodular goiter. So a portion of a thyroid gland which is palpable or radiologically distinct from the surrounding gland tissue, then we call that as a nodule. By and large, a gland which is palpable very easily is little more than 1 centimeter in size. You can divide those particular into benign, malignant. You may not be able to diagnose, called non-diagnostic, suspicion, etc. So if it is more than 1 centimeter, we call it that as a nodule. Function wise can be hyperthyroid or hypothyroid. By and large, malignants are non-functioning, or we call it the cold nodules. While hyperfunctioning, by and large, they are non-neoplastic. Why? Inflammatory variety can be euthyroid, can be hyperthyroid, can be hypothyroid. End results is hypothyroid. Or we also call them as toxic goiter. can be diffuse, can be solitary nodule, or can be multinodular. So euthyroid is called non-toxic, hypothyroid toxic goiter. Then combination of those two, toxic solitary, toxic multinodular, non-toxic multinodular, and non-toxic diffuse goiter. These are all different goitrogens which can increase the size of the thyroid gland, maybe euthyroid, maybe hypothyroid. So goiter you can divide into endemic or sporadic. Structure wise smooth, nodular, and nodular can be solitary nodule, multinodular. Neoplastic wise adenoma, malignant, and secondary metastasis. Function wise euthyroid, hyperthyroid, or hypothyroid. Or we call toxic, non-toxic, and hypothyroid. So this slide already we have shown you before. So it is a repetition again. It can be bilateral enlargement, so both lobes are enlarged, symmetrical enlargement, and function wise maybe hypo, hyper, or euthyroid. Whenever there is an asymmetrical enlargement, we call it a multinodular goiter, or there can be a solitary nodule, or it can be carcinomatous enlargement, or in a case of a thyroiditis. By and large, in a thyroiditis, it is asymmetrical. Function wise, non-toxic, toxic, neoplastic, inflammatory, and rare groups. You can undergo at your leisure time. Simple goiter are usually physiological, post-puberty or puberty goiter, during pregnancy, or diffuse variety. Multinodular goiter is a simple goiter and can be euthyroid. Toxic goiter are by and large diffuse, which is classically seen in a Graves' disease. Multinodular goiter is seen in a plumber, and toxic adenoma is in a Goytach syndrome. Neoplastic can be benign or malignant, or can be secondary metastasis or other varieties. Inflammatory can be acute, subacute, chronic. Chronic are usually autoimmune. Subacute are granulomatous. Fibrosing variety in Riddle's thyroiditis, acute infective, and subacute we call as a Dequarian variety. So inflammatory can be autoimmune, granulomatous, fibrosing variety in Riddle's, granulomatous we call as a subacute variety or Dequarian variety, which is usually painful. Fibrosing variety is painless. Infective can be acute or chronic. These are painful. Acute is bacterial, viral, or can become subacute and post-viral, which we call as a Dequarian variety. And chronic is usually tuberculosis, fungal, pneumocystic carni, very rarely syphilitic. And in autoimmune, Hashimoto's, postpartum thyroiditis, sporadic, or we call as painless thyroiditis. So goiter you can divide function wise hypo, hyper, and neoplastic. Hypo can be congenital or acquired. Among acquired, autoimmune, and this autoimmune classical is Hashimoto's thyroiditis or because of iodine deficiency, and congenital is autoimmune variety or maybe drug induced or maybe dysharmoniogenesis. And among Graves' disease, it is autoimmune. Riddle's is one another variety which can be acquired variety. By and large, it is euthyroid or hypothyroid. Graves' disease is usually hyperthyroid. Inflammation will also produce goiter. We already told you it can be acute, subacute, chronic. Neoplastic can be benign or malignant. You can divide according to the radioactive iodine uptake, cold nodules, hot nodules, and warm nodules. So again, this is another way: inflammatory, toxic, autoimmune, simple, and neoplastic variety, whichever way you want to approach. Mainly we are interested in benign variety and malignant variety. In a malignant variety, we have got basic follicular carcinoma, or anaplastic variety or secondary metastasis. While in a benign variety, the most common is autonomous toxic nodule, or we call as a euthyroid goiters, which can be multinodular or diffuse enlargement like puberty goiter, iodine deficiency, sporadic variety, etc. You can have a toxic goiter which can be autonomous toxic nodule, we call as a goiter's disease. Plumber is multinodular toxic goiter. You can have a colloidal nodule, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and even a Graves' disease will be a benign variety, which can be diffuse toxic enlargement. You can have a subacute thyroiditis, follicular adenomas, etc. Among thyroid gland cancer malignancy, the commonest variety is a follicular well differentiated variety papillary carcinoma, which is accounting for almost 80% of the cases. Pure follicular variety will be 10% of the cases. Then medullary carcinoma will be accounting for 5 to 10% of the cases, and anaplastic variety 1 to 2% of the cases. So differentiated variety papillary carcinoma is almost 75%, follicular is around 10%. There is another word utilized is Hurther cell, which is 5%. Anaplastic variety is 5%, which can be small cell or giant cells, and medullary carcinoma is again 5%. And other what we call is the sarcoma, teratomas, lymphomas, or metastasis is 1%. We have already shown you this slide before. It can be smooth enlargement or a multinodular enlargement or a solitary nodule. Function wise, euthyroid, hyperthyroid or hypothyroid, we call toxic. Euthyroid is called non-toxic or hypothyroid. You have to examine the thyroid gland depending upon that site, size, shape, surface, consistency, tenderness, pressure effects, movements, etc. You should look for all these findings, which we already done in a thyroid introduction. So you try to find out all those things by well examination, and you try to differentiate. So you get a good family history of autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's. The chances of Hashimoto's will be very high. Family history of a benign thyroid nodule, again that is in favor of benign variety. If hypothyroid or hyperthyroid are usually non-malignant, painful or painless. We have already mentioned before in a thyroiditis chapter. Soft, smooth, mobile is less likely to be malignant. Multinodular goiter without a predominant nodule, again more in favor of what we call as a non-malignant variety. Warm nodule or thyroid scan is again less in favor of malignancy. And simple cyst on ultrasound, again more in favor of benign rather than malignant variety. In a malignant variety, age less than 20, more than 70, male sex are more common. A person who has undergone irradiation or a neck surgery, or person strong family history of what we call as a follicular malignancy, MEN type 2 variety, we call multiple endocrine neoplasia, or if the nodule is larger than 3 centimeters, rapidly growing, firm nodule, irregular in shape, surface, fixed to the deeper structure, cervical lymphadenopathy, on a thyroid scan, cold nodule, and on a ultrasound, solid or we call complex cyst, more in favor of a malignancy. On examination, look for the compressive symptoms, enlargement of the thyroid gland. In a compressive symptoms, cough, hoarseness, difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in breathing, the nodule does not move on, deglutition or drinking water. You should examine the person in a sitting posture, look for the peripheral lymph nodes, look for the Pemberton sign to rule out the substernal goiter, retrosternal goiter. Examine properly, do inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. Look for the lingual thyroid gland. Look for secondary metastasis. These are secondary metastasis. You can see the size of the thyroid gland enlargement. 100% this has to be a malignant tissue. In an area where there is a goitrogens or iodine deficiency area, it can be iodine deficiency goiter. If there is a substernal or retrosternal, then you can have a compressive symptoms and you can see the dilated veins on the upper part of the neck. Do look for these signs. This is multinodular and clinical symptom signs of toxicosis, so we will call as a multinodular toxic goiter. If there is a diffuse and there is a signs of thyrotoxicosis, we will call that a diffuse toxic goiter, classical in Graves' disease. All neck swelling are not thyroid. It can be a brachial cyst. It can be because of goiter. It can be infected cyst. It can be cervical abscess, submandibular abscess, or it can be lymph node secondary metastasis from a distant malignant tissue. So examine thyroid gland properly and look for whether it is solitary nodule, multinodular, diffuse, solitary, etc., tender, non-tender. This is lingual thyroid gland. You can clearly see the lingual thyroid gland. This is thyroglossal cyst. You can see a very nice cyst. This is fistula following a surgery. This is multinodular. This is solitary nodule on one side. You can see a huge enlargement, irregular enlargement. So multinodular, this is diffuse. Look for substernal goiter, Pemberton sign. Elevate the arm. This is before elevation, and after elevation you can see the compression on the blood flow, which will result into congestion of the face. And in a retrosternal variety, already if it is compressing, producing a compressive symptom, you can have a dilated veins close to the suprasternal in a upper part of the chest. This is Pemberton sign very clearly. Examine always from the back and use the finger. You look at the volume, consistency, mobility, surface, temperature, parameters, palpate for thrill, or we call as a bruit, painful, non-painful, etc. Look for all those things and auscultate for a bruit. Clinically examine for hyper or hypothyroid stage. Transillumination is very useful to differentiate cystic enlargement, and in a retrosternal goiter or retrosternal thyroid gland, do a percussion on a sternum, you will get a dull note. Additional tests should be done to find out a hyperthyroid or hypothyroid by looking at the myopathy, myxedema, ankle reflex, ophthalmoplegia, and then you can undergo different investigations. You suspect, clinically you can identify, look for thyroglossal cyst, pyramidal lobes, lingual, ectopic, etc. Also rule out what we call as a whether it is congenital or acquired. Goiter is smooth, multinodular or solitary. Benign, malignant or thyroiditis. Function wise, it is U, hypo or hyper. And duration wise, acute, subacute, chronic, and autoimmune, Hashimoto's, postpartum. Riddle is ideally not autoimmune, but still they put into autoimmune. And these are the different terms. If it is a thyroid nodule, first thing, examine properly, try to identify, and clinically you try to differentiate different types, painful, non-painful, whether it is hypo, U or hyper, whether it is solitary, multinodular or diffuse goiter, etc. Then do a TSH level. If TSH level is low, means hyperfunctioning thyroid gland. By and large, it is almost, we say, non-malignant. So do a radioisotope iodine uptake study. If it is a hot nodule, more in favor of Graves' disease, you can put them onto radioactive iodine, or you can go for surgery, or you can even do thyroid drugs, anti-thyroid drugs. If it is a cold nodule, do a ultrasound On an ultrasound, if it is a solid nodule or a complex complex cyst, then go for FNSC. Even if it is a high TSH, means hypothyroid function, also you should do a ultrasounds, should be done. And in an ultrasound, if it is more than one and if it is solid, go for FNSC. Non-diagnostic, repeat the test. On FNSC, if it is malignant, go for surgery. Suspected malignancy, again surgery is indicated. Hurter cell, surgery is indicated. Follicular cell carcinoma, surgery is indicated, or you can go for even iodine uptake scan. If it is a cold nodule, surgery is again indicated. And FNSC shows a benign. Again you repeat, if it is benign, you require a regular follow-up. If it is a cyst, aspirate, malignant, surgery. Non-malignant, observe. Less than 1 centimeter, you can have a regular follow-up. And we have already told you, if it is rapidly increasing in size, more than 3 centimeter, fixed to the deeper structure, you can do ultrasound, radioactive iodine uptake, and directly go for FNSC. More chance of malignancy. And this is the same thing shown how you approach to a person. First do TSH, do ultrasound, then go for a radioactive iodine uptake study and FNSC, and decide whether you require a surgery or not. This is what is called as a guideline, which was given in 2018, and this is the guideline now everyone follows. So first is thyroid examination clinically, may be incidentally detected on a radioactive iodine uptake studies. Do a TSH level, do a ultrasound. If TSH is normal or elevated, sonograph criteria, and then decide regarding an FNAC. If TSH is subnormal, meaning hypothyroid, subnormal meaning hyperthyroid, you can go for a radioactive iodine uptake studies. If it is a non-functional, go for FNAC. If it is hypothyroid, go for FNAC. If it is hyperthyroidic function, it can be subclinical or it can be overt hypothyroid. Subclinical, you use the subclinical hyperthyroid criteria and decide regarding a person needs treatment or not. And if it is clinically hyperthyroid, then go for directly treatment, antithyroid drug, surgery, or radioactive iodine. So investigations we already mentioned, all we have done. If clinically there is a thyroid gland enlargement and you are suspecting autoimmune, then go for TPO antibody and anti-GB. This will help to differentiate between two groups, that is Hashimoto's Graves disease. In a Graves, TSH receptor antibody, stimulating antibody will be strongly positive, TPO will be positive, thyroglobulin antibody will be also positive, but strongly TSH receptor antibody will be positive. While in case of a Hashimoto's postpartum and sporadic variety, or we call as a painless subacute variety, will be positive. You can go for chest X-ray to find out a retrosternal goiter, iodine iodine isotope study, CT scan, ultrasounds. On a scan, you can easily identify the smooth increased uptake. This is different lobes having a multinodular area getting a high uptake. Some nodules are normal uptake. If there is a single nodule having a very high uptake, it is a solitary nodule, we call Goiter's disease. In a subacute variety, usually there is low uptake, so that gives rise to a, what we call as a subacute variety or a Dequarian variety. If there is a small area which is having no uptake, we call as a cold nodule. If entire gland having an uptake but it is not very high, we call as a warm nodule. And if there is a small area which is having a very high uptake, we call as a hot nodule. Hot nodule are less likely to be malignant. Cold nodule are more likely to be malignant. Warm are again more likely to be normal. but still you have to keep a watch. So cold nodule, FNAC is a must. Hot nodule, less likely to be malignant. Warm nodule can be malignant and it is in only 5% of the people. So look for the cold nodule, hot nodule. Hot nodule are by and large very rarely thyroid malignancy, only in 2% of the cases. Warm nodules only in 4% of the cases, while you can see in a cold nodule, it will be very high, 15 to 25% of the time it will be malignancy. So go through that. FNAC is a must. Management wise, if it is malignant, surgery, by and large, complete total thyroidectomy. Very rarely you require a partial. Radioactive iodine treatment is very useful and you can go for a chemotherapy. If it is a benign nodule, levothyroxine for suppression therapy. You can go for a percutaneous ethanol injections. Surgery can be indicated. Radioactive iodine therapy in very rare conditions. Laser or radiofrequency ablation. Usually these are not frequently advised. By and large, what we call as a levothyroxine or percutaneous ethanol injections to relieve what we call as pressure symptoms, or you might require a surgery. Very rarely you require a radioactive iodine, laser or radiofrequency ablation. Now part of this is replaced by radiofrequency ablation and laser therapy. So in those cases you can. Complication wise, usually secondary metastasis. By and large, very frequently in a follicular variety. Pressure effects are quite common in a multinodular goiter or in a malignancy. Also common in the case of a Riddle's thyroiditis. Esophageal, tracheal, recurrent laryngeal nerve, vein, artery can be involved. Very frequently recurrent laryngeal nerve can be involved because of pressure or can be very commonly post-operative. You can have a complication because of surgery or while doing FNAC or while giving a chemotherapy or a radioactive iodine treatment. All this can be there. And function wise, some are hypothyroid. By and large, they are hypothyroid. You can have a complication because of hypothyroid like atrial fibrillation, congestive heart failure, tachycardias, superior vena cava obstruction because of a compressions, or it can lead to osteoporosis and fracture. So I end my lecture here on thyroiditis, thyroid goiter, thyroid nodule. I have covered up all, because in your everyday practice you will come across two groups. One, non-thyroid goiter and thyroid goiter with disorders. So this will be very helpful to you.